My friend and I had everything in common at 22. Same employer, same salary, the same vague dream of one day not depending on a boss. Every month we got the same deposit. Every month we had the same conversation. One day, when we earn more, we'll start investing. One evening, I came across an article, $25 a week, invested correctly over 30 years. The final number seemed impossible. I read it twice. The next day, I told my friend about the article. He laughed. $25 a week? That's not investing. That's kid savings. Wait until you have a real amount. That evening, I opened a brokerage account. I picked 5 dividend stocks. I switched on automatic reinvestment. And I scheduled a transfer of $25 every Monday. The following Monday, $25 disappeared from my checking account. I looked at the notification. My friend would have laughed, but I had just understood something he wouldn't understand for 18 years. The principle was simple. I bought stocks that paid dividends. Those dividends automatically bought new shares, more time. Those new shares paid new dividends. A self-feeding cycle. The first week, I had $25 invested. The first month, $108. By year's end, $1,300. It felt terribly slow. And that was exactly what my friend was counting on to talk me out of it. But I had understood something crucial. DRIP alone was slow. The $25 alone was small. Together, they were 2 engines running at the same time. And 2 engines changed the math. My friend was waiting for more money to start. But every month of waiting was a month of lost compounding. A month my portfolio was using, and his would never get back. I didn't need willpower every week. The transfer went out on its own. The dividends reinvested on their own. I had built a system, not a habit. Habits break, systems don't. At the end of year 2, I had $2,750 invested. My friend had 0. The gap seemed negligible. It wasn't, because those $2,750 were going to work for 28 more years, and nothing could stop them. One March morning, I got a notification I wasn't expecting. Dividend received, $4.17. I stopped. It wasn't much, but something, had just paid me while I was sleeping. $4.17. Nothing to brag about. My friend earned that in 30 seconds, but that $4.17 never touched my checking account. It went straight back out to buy new shares. The machine had just fed itself for the first time. Those 0.21 new shares paid dividends too, which bought new shares, which paid new dividends. I had added nothing. The snowball had started rolling on its own. That same quarter, my friend's money was sitting in a 0.5% savings account. He was waiting until he had enough to really start. Meanwhile, my portfolio had just collected its 3rd automatic dividend. I talked about my portfolio to almost no one, not out of shame, out of protection. I knew that well-meaning comments could kill a fragile system before it had the time to prove its worth. My friend did finally act that year. He put $3,000 into a stock a colleague had hyped up. It dropped 60% in 6 months. He pulled out what was left and swore he'd never touch the market again. 5 years passed. I had put in $6,500. The portfolio was worth $8,521. The difference came from growth and reinvested. Dividends. Nothing spectacular, just an engine running. My friend had a new reason every year. The pandemic, inflation, interest rates, the market too high, the market too low. I listened, and every Monday, $25 went out anyway. At year 10, I had contributed $13,000. The portfolio showed $25,189. For the first time, the growth was bigger than everything I put in that year. The market was adding more than I was. The leverage had just flipped. That same year, my friend got promoted. His salary jumped 40%. I thought, now he'll start. Instead, he bought a new car and moved into a bigger apartment. And waited some more. I didn't judge my friend. I had almost done the exact same thing. The difference was one article I happened to read at 22. And the decision to test something ridiculous, $25 a week, just to see. At 40, my friend called me. He had good news. He'd set aside $20,000. He was ready to start. For real. I hung up and looked at my own portfolio, $135,000. I took a long breath. My friend opened his account with $20 in one shot, then set up $500 a month. He was proud. At 40, he was finally starting. He had no idea about the gap he could never close. I did the math quietly. My friend had 12 years left to invest before retirement. 12 years at $500 a dash. Month, that's $72,000 in total. I had put in $26,000 for a $135,000 portfolio. Something didn't add up for him. My friend's drip was working. Dividends were reinvesting. His engine was running, but it was running from zero at 40. Mine was running from $135 at communities of 40. Two identical engines, one irreversible head start. A year later, my friend called, euphoric. His portfolio had climbed. He already had $28 and $1,000. He felt ahead. I had $162,000. I said nothing. I congratulated him and hung up. I blame my friend for nothing. The waiting trap is invisible from the inside. You can't see the compound interest you're not earning. You can't see the dividends you're not reinvesting. The cost of inaction never shows up on a bank statement. By then, I knew something my friend didn't. Even if he doubled his contributions, even if he worked 10 more years, 18 years of compounding head start couldn't be caught up. Not at this stage. The verdict was already in. At 45, my friend did something he'd never done. He opened a retirement calculator. He typed in his numbers. The projection for 65 made him sit down. It wasn't the number he'd pictured. The calculator projected $131,000 at 65 for him. At that pace, I was already at $190,000 at 45. And I wasn't done. Even 20 more years at $500 a month wouldn't close that gap. He called me. He didn't understand. He had invested seriously. $500 a month was so much more than $25 a month. Weak. How could I be this far ahead? I took a deep breath and tried to explain. I told him one thing. It's not how much you invest. It's when you start. 2 sentences that summed up 30 years of math. He went quiet for a long time. Then he said, "What if I had started at 22? I ran the numbers for him. $25 a week from 22 for 30 years, $214,000. Him at $500 a month for 12 years, about $131,000 at retirement. The gap, $83,000, and I had put in $33,000 less than he did." He said one thing before he hung up. "I should have listened to you at 22. I didn't answer because there was nothing to say. The truth was in the numbers, and numbers don't complain, they just count. I was 52. 30 years had passed since that notification, $25 gone on a Monday morning. I opened the app, not out of habit, because I wanted to see the final number. $214,312. That was the balance. 30 years, $39,000 put in total, $25 a week. The difference, $175,312, came from growth and reinvested dividends. Money I never earned, but that the machine built for me. In annual dividends, $5,969. That's $497 a month, every month, without working, without selling a thing. Just the result of $5 billion. 30 years of $25 on Monday mornings, and dividends that reinvested themselves 1,560 times. My friend called me that day. His portfolio after 12 years at $500 a month, $131,000. Monthly income, $304. He had put in $72,000. Me, $39,000. He invested $33,000 more than me and ended up with $83,000 less. My friend had done everything right. Same kinds of stocks, drip switched on, serious contributions, but he did all of it 18 years too late. The market doesn't reward how much you invest. It rewards how long you've been invested. I worked out what my first 5 years of $25 a week had produced, the years my friend wasn't investing. Yet, those $6,500 put in between 22 and 27 ended up being $70,000 of my final portfolio. The $25 my friend had called ridiculous. That was exactly it. That evening, I thought about everyone who, right at that moment, had $25 sitting somewhere. Not enough to really start, not enough to matter. That's exactly what I thought at 22, before. The question was never how much you have to invest today. The question is, how many years from now will you stare at your account, wondering what would have happened if you'd started right now? In 5 years? In 18? I'm not telling you $25 a week will make you rich. I'm telling you $25 a week for 30 years changes the math. That difference is everything. Time was the real resource, never the money. If you're 25, you still have the advantage I had. If you're 30, you have part of it. If you're 40, you still have something my friend no longer had at 50. That something is time in front of you. That month, I got my $497 in dividends, like every month for years. I opened the app, I pressed reinvest. The system did what it had always done, and the $497 went back to work. So the next time someone tells you $25 a week is ridiculous, remember one thing. My friend invested $33,000 more than I did, and he ended up with $83,000 less. The difference was never in the numbers. It was in Monday morning. Before you go, be honest with me. What's the reason you keep telling yourself to start later? Not enough money, not the right time, the market's too high? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one, and at 22, I almost used the same excuse. And if this hit home, if you've got your own $25 sitting somewhere right now, there's one more story you need to see next, and it's right here. Subscribe so the next Monday morning decision finds you on time. I'll meet you there.